When did you know how you're going to end Red Dead Redemption 1?
I remember I did a meeting with Christian, the designer. I can't remember what year, probably some point late 2008, early 2009. And we were discussing the last bit and said, I think he's got to die. And he leapt on that idea and went, that's, yes, no. And then I went, no, it can't work. Games can't work like that. They can't work if he's dead. And then I began to think through, well, if we just technically, it doesn't work because you have to be able to finish all the stuff up. And then began to think through, actually, I think we can make it work if we do it this way. And so he then really pushed for that idea. And it seemed to, I was like, I was still torn. I thought it was clever narratively, but I was torn if it was going to work technically as a piece of game design, but I think it did.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, of course. How do we tell the story of that? Well, so he goes through a lot. John does all the dirty work of hunting down his old gang, and he finally is able to go home and be with his family, be on the ranch, and then the government betrays him and sends troops to kill him, and there is dialogue. I mean, that's just I think the two times I shed a tear in video game history for me is that dialogue. I think John talking to his wife, if I vaguely remember, I think he said, "I love you," but he said very little. He didn't, he made it seem like he's going to see her and his son shortly. That dialogue was masterfully done, like a definition of like less is more. It was just so crisp. That, and of course the other one is again from memory, Arthur riding his horse and the music is playing. It's very hard not to shed a tear during that. Anyway, the dialogue of John talking to his wife at the end when he's in a barn and is about to walk out to face certain death. Do you remember writing that?
Oh yeah. But it does, again, the actor was so good, and we've already seen a bunch of his work by then.
Yeah.
He was so good at reading those lines that I knew he could give us, that you could feel with that point. Like, I think those lines are best when they're really short and punchy. And so I knew he'd be able to make that line sound good.
So you were imagining his voice.
Yeah,
You
and I think all of those actors on Red Dead Redemption 1 were so strong that they really brought that game to life. If them and Rod the director hadn't done such a good job, it would have sounded cheesy as hell.
Yeah, you've said that the ending of RDR1 is one of the best things you've been a part of creating. Why? Why is that ending so powerful to you? What does it represent?
I think because for the story to work, I mean, just from a technical challenge, for the story to work, he had to die. But for a game to work, it felt like a challenge to make him die. It was probably the fifth or sixth open world game I'd worked on, and I'd spent all these years before that working out how these stories worked, how to make them work technically, how to make them feel right, how they interacted with the open form gameplay as best I could. And suddenly we're going to break one of our golden rules, which was at the end of the game, you're freeing the character to go and wrap up all the side stories to play forever. You're not going to be able to do that in this game because the guy's going to be dead, and we're going to have you play as a different character. And the narrative is going to be, if we've done a good job, compelling enough where you're not going to care about that, and or you're going to be upset that he's dead, but you're going to actually have this emotional moment. So I think it was a big risk from a technical perspective for us to do that, and then it worked. So I think that was something that was full of fear, and it worked. It worked out okay. I mean, I think people were really upset and angry at us for doing it because they didn't think it was going to happen. But I think they also had that kind of experience you're describing, which is that kind of creative moment where, transcendent moment with characters in a piece of fiction, which is what we were always aspiring to giving people.
I mean, it's incredible because I don't remember a single video game that has done that before.
Well, I would like to have at the end of GTA 4 kill Nico, but you couldn't do it. The game doesn't work that way. So it was this thing where we hadn't done it, thought about doing it, hadn't done it, and then going, let's do it. Let's take the risk and do it. Or we can't do it. Let's try it, and it worked.
Yeah. What about the decision with the son? John give so much effort to make sure that Jack doesn't end up in a life of violence. And then it's very Godfather-like. He's dragged back into it through revenge.
That was also the game still had to work as a game. Whether that was the right ending, 100% the best ending from a pure storytelling perspective, I don't know. But I know that we had to make the game work.
Oh, interesting.
So it was. I think it kind of worked in that way where Jack can't escape, but I always also wanted a version of it where Jack did escape, but that wasn't. Both were interesting to me.
Can you just dig in a little deeper? Like, what do you mean for the game to work? It's such a direct. It's like a Kubrick talking about for this movie to work. It has to have, because from my perspective, I just think about the story. What's the technical aspect for the game to work?
The mechanical experience is you have an avatar you control, and the games don't really end, and you have to be able to wander around the world and do stuff. So at the end of the game, you had to be able to wander around with your fairly limited set of features, which is you can run up to someone and punch them, or run up to someone and shoot them, or run up to someone and rob them, or run up to someone and talk to them, and that's or run up and jump on a horse or do all this other stuff. In order for the game still to be fun and people to get this full 360-degree experience with it, they had to, if they wanted 100% the game, as opposed to just finishing the story, you have to have an avatar to do that stuff with. So that was the sort of challenge of Jack's character / wrapping up the story as Jack.
Although there's real power for the avatar to end, the finiteness.
Yeah, both the Red Dead, you obviously change avatar. Which we got, and then did it again. I think there's something interesting about that moment when you change from one character to another, because they are you and they're not you, and then just suddenly you're someone else.
I mean, I was really shaken by that experience, but it's a beautiful experience. It's like an unforgettable experience. And what else can video games possibly reach for? That's to create that experience. That's what great films do. That's what great books do.
It's that and the world building in games. I think the experience of being in this fake place and then taking on these narrative adventures, when that combines, you've got the amazing experience.